winners? Are they born? Are they just naturally winners? Or are winners people who are successful in life? Is it the hard work they've done? Is it what they've manufactured themselves into? Is it people surrounded by them? In today's podcast with Mike Michalowicz, we want to examine how do you become a winner?
If we're not growing, you're not growing.
We are here today with Mike on Profit Generator podcast, and we are talking about winners. And winners, are they made or are they naturally born? And I want to know, we're going to explore how you too can become a winner. Why is it that some people just have this naturally occurring ability to just win in life? I've looked in so many business owners that I've come across, and if you can compare them to someone like an apple for apples, the same person is not doing as well, maybe not kicking as many goals, but then the other person who's exactly the same is smashing life, smashing business. So Mike, we're going to explore that today. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, it's so fun to be here. It took me 21 hours of flying time to get down here just for this one interview, and then I'm flying home.
And I didn't even bring you a jar of Vegemite.
No Vegemite yet. We're just starting. It's 10 a.m. in the morning, so we have our Vegemite in front of us still.
Absolutely no judgment though. I don't do Vegemite.
What? Why not? Are you an Aussie?
No, I just do not hate Vegemite. No.
I think Vegemite's amazing. I think the problem that most people have with Vegemite is they overserve it. You need it in small doses. Don't smear that whole thing over your biscuit because it's going to overwhelm you. Just do a little dab, and a little dab will do you, as they say.
You've clearly been coming to Australia too much.
Really? I love Vegemite. I love it so much. Last time I was here, Naj Makan, our mutual friend, gave me Vegemite gear. So I have a Vegemite ornament for my Christmas tree. I have a Vegemite t-shirt, and I may have Vegemite underpants. I don't deny or admit that. I just may.
Wow. Is Donald going to let you back in the country? Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Let's not go.
Guys, if you don't know Mike, you've not heard about Mike before, Mike is joining me. He is the author of multi-million-dollar books, and you've written quite a few. You just released a new one too, didn't you?
I have a brand new one coming out in January of 2026. My new book is called The Money Habit, and what it is a translation of one of my prior books called Profit First, and translate it into personal finance. What I found, I know we're talking about winning today, is winning is a holistic experience in my belief that you don't only win in business, you must win in your personal life, relations, spirituality. It's a combination package. And so I'm writing this book to help entrepreneurs who are improving their business and simultaneously want to improve their personal finances at the same time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So it's like I look at it again. It's the personal version of
that's exactly
first,
it,
right?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah. All right. So let's think about the winner's mindset, and then let's get out of and also verse the loser's loop. So, Mike, in your own journey, what have you noticed about what you've seen in yourself, what you've discovered in yourself, but then also looking back in history and the business owners themselves? This pattern where you think that is there a belief where there's a pattern where people just set themselves up to lose?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would say absolutely there's a pattern. To give context, I interview and speak with countless entrepreneurs. That's my space as business owners. And I definitely see a distinct difference between the people who are successful. Now we need to define that and fail to succeed. I think success is defining an outcome of importance to you and seeing it to fulfillment. That's how I'm going to define success. I don't like that success is, someone that has a certain amount of money or a certain size business. Those are very common definitions, but I don't think they're appropriate definitions. So success is very individual to the person. It's very unique to the person. But what I found when it comes to people who don't succeed, meaning they don't achieve the outcome they have envisioned for themselves, they're often stuck in what I call the learning loop. And here's what's so perverted about it, Nathan. For you and I to achieve any outcome we want, we have to have knowledge around it. But there's a second component that we need, and it's experience. And it's a different form of knowledge. There's book knowledge, there's logical, technical understanding, but there's also experiential knowledge. You learn through the burn, meaning trying things out, failing, and so forth. And what I see is there's many entrepreneurs who go into learning loops, and when they're not achieving the outcome they want, it is easier to learn more, to study more, than actually go out there and do it, because that's the most fearful part. So they're in this constant beginner mode of, let me learn, let me get the master's degree in this, And then when they achieve that, they say, I'm not there yet. Things have changed. Let me learn some more. Let me get the doctoral degree. It didn't work. Let me get a second doc. They just keep on learning and they don't do it. The most successful entrepreneurs I've seen consistently pursue their vision prematurely without the education necessary. They get burned during the process over and over again, and then they adapt accordingly. That's the difference I would say most often.
So I guess what you're saying is that it's almost that they don't even set themselves up for that launch. So, that saying fail to launch, it's like you're not even getting that point
That's
where
right.
you are launching.
It's because it's so freaking scary. Rejection is one of the most difficult things to experience as a human. I remember the first girl I asked out who said no, and it was like devastating. Actually, I take it back. I remember the first girl I wanted to ask out that I never did ask out because I was so afraid. And this is an embarrassing story. I was in high school. I was a freshman in high school. And I bought her for Valentine's Day a box of chocolates. What the most I could afford, which was like Hershey, crappy American chocolate. And, but that was expensive to me. And I said, I'm going to give it to her and not even ask for a date, just give it to her and say Happy Valentine's Day. I was so afraid. I never gave her the box of chocolates. It sat in my locker the whole day. I was shaking. And by the end of the day, I just brought it home. And I remember sitting watching television, eating the chocolates. Never should have asked. The funny thing was, though, I felt like at least I didn't get rejected because I never attempted.
Yeah.
And I could have continued that loop. I then remember asking a girl out on a date, you want to get a soda or something, and getting, are you kidding me? You? Rejection. And the pain that caused.
So I want to ask you, so interjecting in that story, at what point in your life, because it's a very, like for you, at that time was embarrassing.
So embarrassing.
When did you have that ability to share? Yeah.
Years and years later. This is the first time I'm publicly saying about the chocolate story, but years before I told a friend. And how I say it too is, I know someone once who bought chocolates because he wanted to ask a girl out and was afraid to do it. And I can't remember the guy's name. And finally, I think I'm the guy. But I will tell you, you find out that the burn isn't so bad. The bigger burn is never getting the yes. And this is true in business too. I don't have much fear of asking for what I am pursuing because I know that the rejection is way less painful than the lack of accomplishment. You know what? If you don't get rejected, you get regret. And regret is the worst. To look back and say, I should have, I could have, but I didn't. I'd rather get rejected to say, at least I tried. I think maybe that's the big difference between someone who wins, achieves their outcome versus someone who never does.
I think, for a lot of people, it's when do you get that point where there is so much of that built up? And then from there, what do you then go and do? You either continue this journey of, you know what, there's this pain. You might even call it pain, but you associate that understanding of it's okay. There's nothing else I can do. I just accept it.
Yeah.
But where do you reckon is that? Like, how could someone, if they're at that point, can recognize that is happening, but I want more, but I don't know how to step out of that?
That's such a great question. So I got to think deeply about my own experience around this. I'll start off with a story. I've had this great privilege, Nathan. In the last couple months, I started a new podcast. It isn't launched yet. It's called Becoming Self-Made. And what I'm doing is I'm traveling all over the US and Canada. I hope to come to Australia to do the same thing and interviewing people, filming it, just like we're doing this.
Yeah.
And these are celebrity entrepreneurs I'm interviewing. So I interviewed Brian Scudamore. He's the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. They're here in Australia. It's a $700 or $800 million business. I remember him saying to me, he goes, it's harder to make the first million than the first billion by far. I'm like, really? He goes, the first million, it's just you. He goes, now we have systems and processes. It's automatic. And he looked at his watch. He goes, we just made $1 million now. He goes, in the last hour while we were talking, I made $1 million. He shared a story about the question you're asking about when are you ready? And I think the indicator was frustration. He was working a job and just didn't like it and said, this is not for me. So your heart knows, but then the mind kicks in. The mind says, you're not ready yet. You're not prepared. And you keep on squashing the heart. So I think that's the moment when you're pushing your heart down saying, I'm not ready. I need to learn more. That's actually not true. Your heart says, I got to do this. And you learn through the burn. He started his first business. He called it the Rubbish Boys. And he goes, even that was a farce because there was no S. There was no boys. It was one boy. It was him. He was the rubbish boy. And Brian Scudamore in his beat up pickup truck was doing this thing. But that's where the deep learning came. And that's where the belief came. So I think for someone that's listening right now, if your heart's screaming out to do something and your mind is saying prepare, I think your heart's telling you the preparation will happen during the doing. You've got to start now.
My personal experience has been that definitely the burn, that is so relatable. The build up of anxiety, like
Sure.
And when my business got bigger and bigger, it was just more commonly I had anxiety. I never had anxiety before. I never had this feeling of, it is the worst feeling. And if anyone has never had this, let me share with you the experience of what I've had and what I would feel or explain what anxiety is. It's this overcoming feel of pain in your stomach, this gut pain.
Yeah.
But then you also want to cry, but you don't have the tears to cry. It is bad, but it's, this is a living hell. And the worst part about anxiety is you never know when it's going to come.
That's true.
And for me, it was going, I don't like this experience. Now, I had to actually work out why I was having this feeling. And then I had to go back and look at the patterns and recognize. And it's not until I really recognized what was happening, understand that pattern to go, now I know the fix. Now, the fix was, okay, it's you and I speaking. It's, I'll put together some procedures and systems. Not as simple as that in reality. But that's what it came back to, creating those systems. Now, there's twofold here. Creating systems means that you can build. If you don't have a great foundation in your business and you just sell more and the business gets bigger, when it gets bigger, there's more action, there's more transactions, there's more volume. Eventually that building is going to fall over. We're talking about foundations. Foundations of business are exactly the same. And so it solved two problems for me. It got rid of my anxiety. And then it was the ability to spend more time with my family and actually have a weekend with my family.
Oh, nice.
And then also you're building a better business that now is actually paying. It's actually got that return.
Yes.
But it's just so funny how I look at it, and I think a lot of people, and this is why I've come up with this topic, is that a lot of people would say, he's just really successful because he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth type thing, or it just naturally came to him. But I want to say, and I think you're definitely the same as well, is that you didn't have to, it just wasn't naturally happening. There was some driver behind you, or you could see there was something you could fix, and you had to work on it.
For sure. I was born with a steel spoon. Like I had a spoon, it wasn't a silver spoon perhaps, but it was definitely middle income. You hear these entrepreneurial stories of someone who comes from abject poverty or abuse, and it becomes a line in the sand for them to resolve, and they become wildly successful. And then you hear stories of people with the platinum spoons in their mouths. That's just the expectation placed upon them from their family. They've been so wildly successful, they have to continue it. So it's hard for me to determine if a background has much influence over your outcome as much as the story or the framing you use for your background. So I think we can use anything. When I was starting my first business, my father thought I was crazy. This is how it works, Mike. You get one job when you graduate uni, and you stay at that one job until you retire, because that's what he experienced. But I had these little callings from my heart to say, no, go out on your own and start. I think the fact that I started before I really knew what I was doing was always to my advantage. It always has been. And I think it's because I don't have the time to build up that fear, that nervousness, that it's not going to work. I just jump into it. It's funny, when I became an author, so I've been an author now almost 15 years, I told my wife, I said, I have to do this. I just feel called to do it. And we had discussions about income. She's like, how are you going to make any money? I said, authors make money. I started interviewing other authors, and they said, you don't make any money being an author. It is so hard. It's like starting a rock band. A few make it. AC/DC made it, but all these other bands around here, you never hear of it. So I met with a fellow named Tim Ferriss by chance. Just pure by chance. I ran into him. I had a half hour with him in a room similar to this, just me and him. I said, can you make money selling books? And he looked around like I was telling a secret. He goes, or asking a secret. He goes, yeah, you can make a lot of money. So lesson for me is, if you want to be successful, is find people who've been successful already and ask them for their input. People who are just naysayers and don't have any experience, ignore them. They're just trying to hold you down. The people who've tried it and failed, listen to them and learn what not to do. The other thing, going to your point, Nathan, with building systems, is I also determined that there's a limitation to how much effort that you and I can put into our business before we're exhausted physically, mentally, and emotionally. And there's a cap to that. And many entrepreneurs that start a business will lean into that. And that's fine. Then you have a glorified job, and that's fine if that's what you want. But the next level is to realize that you are not to do the job. Your job is to create jobs. So I was saying, entrepreneurs don't do the job, they create jobs for others. And so when I realized that my mission is to create jobs, I look at the jobs that are needed, define them, and then say, who can I insert there that will excel there because it's joyous for them to do?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of people in business where what happens is it's their skill, everyday skill, and they go, I want to run my own business because I'm sick and tired of being an employee.
Yeah.
But the thing is that if you're a chef or you're a carpenter, whatever it is, right? Even an accountant, no one teaches you how to be a business owner.
No.
And the problem is that you're not thinking when you go into business about being a business owner. You just want to work for yourself.
Yeah.
That's cool but you got to understand that defining the two between working for yourself, where, you know what, if you don't turn up to work, you don't get paid. But if you want a business that continues to pay you whilst you're not there, that is a business. And that means you need good processes, systems, it needs to be cogs. But yeah, that's just a very simplistic way of thinking about it.
You're spot on, though. I ask people when I do a live speech, sometimes I'll ask them, I'll say, who here would rather make $100 an hour or $10 an hour? And by a show of hands, and everyone, except a few jokers, raised their hand to $100 an hour. I said, perfect. I said, now, who would rather make $100 an hour on your effort? You have to be doing it, versus $10 an hour on someone else's effort, meaning it just appears to you automatically. Raise your hands. And now the hands, still $100 that's 10 times more. Those hands go up and it's mixed. I then ask, who wants $10 an hour on automatic, 24/7, guaranteed, versus $100 an hour only when you're working? And then, the hands start shifting. Then I say, what if that $10 an hour can be changed to 20, 30, 40, 50? What if it can be changed to hundreds or thousands an hour on automatic? And then all the hands shift. I said, the $100 an hour we initially started off with, that is the job. That's when you're excellent at what you do. You can make good money, maybe even more than that. But when you build a business and you empower people, on the aggregate per person, maybe you're making 10 times less than you would individually. But there's a certain point where it switches over to becoming the most profitable means for you. Because if I have 100 people working for me and I make $10 per hour per person, that's $1,000 an hour. Now it becomes significant. But the greater thing is I've just given 100 people an opportunity to create jobs for themselves where they can make now perhaps $100 an hour for themselves where they wouldn't have otherwise. The greatest gift entrepreneurs can give to our global society is to be creators of jobs. And I think we have this perverted belief that if I'm not, quote, working, doing the work, that I'm actually forcing other people to work. No. Most people on this planet want to do the thing. Very few people want to oversee the thing. And I think that's what we have to choose.
I want to throw you a line. Have you ever found yourself in a position where you're doing something you shouldn't do? You don't have the skills for it. The zone of incompetence.
I like that.
You're sitting there, you just, look, I didn't make it up. Sorry, it's not mine. I stole it from somewhere. I can't remember which author it was. But the zone of incompetence, have you ever found yourself just doing stuff that you shouldn't be doing?
Yeah.
But you're right. Come back to, you are a business owner and you need to create jobs, because then that gives you the ability to work on what you actually enjoy, you love. And when you're passionate about it, you're going to make more money doing it.
Yeah.
But
it is a choice. It's an identity shift. So if you're an accountant and you say, I'm an accountant, you are likely framing yourself as an identity to be a doer of work. If I say I own an accountancy, now I've redefined who I am. So I will tell the same audience that I do that 10-100 process with. I say, starting today, do not say you are an accountant or whatever your profession is. Say you're a shareholder of an accounting firm or whatever. And it's weird. People are like, why do I say that? Because if I come into a room like this and say, Nathan, I'm a shareholder of a accounting group, you'll likely say, what does that mean? And now I have to define shareholder as someone that owns an organization but doesn't work inside the organization. I own stock in it and I influence it through direction. But really what I'm doing is affirming my new identity as a business owner as opposed to a doer inside my business. And it's sad, but I think the word entrepreneur, which I love, and business owner has been bastardized to be someone that works inside the business. I hear some very famous people say, oh, if you're an entrepreneur, it's about hustle and grind, sacrifice everything, your family, all this stuff. And that is a total lie. That's not the case. An entrepreneur really is a shareholder. So why don't we just use the word shareholder? It's better.
Yeah. All right. One final question before we wrap up.
Yeah.
I want to know, let's talk about drive, because I think drive is a great way to connect all this, right?
Yeah.
I'll share with you my drive. My drive initially when I started my business was to prove previous employers that I had it, because I always used to get shut down on different ideas in boardrooms and was embarrassed by stuff that I would
Is this
say.
the chip on the shoulder kind
Yeah,
of
it's a
thing?
chip on the shoulder. So that was my drive initially. And it was only recently I recognized that I had actually achieved that goal. And having achieved that goal, I need a new drive.
Yeah.
And my new drive now is to smash the next segment of the accounting space and
nice.
really build up. I really want to take on accounting and encourage accountants in general to look at business psychology. I think psychology and mindset of owners is so important, because this is what makes us winners. I want to know, was your initial drive when you started, and I think you touched on it before, but what was your drive then and what is your drive now that makes you tick?
Yeah. I think I know when I started out, my drive was actually fear. I started a business because I thought I could make a lot of money that way, which is, by the way, a bad way to start a business, is only focusing on the money. because you don't have direction or purpose. You can make money a billion different ways, countless ways. So it's very directionless. And I also found out that making money doesn't translate to satisfaction or happiness alone. There's combined, listen, money is a great thing. It's a great tool, but it's not important alone. So when I started out a business, I just picked what I had capabilities in, which was the technical space. But very quickly, I wasn't making any money. So fear became this driver, which was a great asset. For a period of time, like you can get up very early in the morning, at 5 a.m, and you can work till 4 o'clock the next morning and get an hour's sleep and go again because you're scared. That was helpful for a period of time, but it's not sustainable. I think I know what drives me today is meaning. So what I did is I went back and reflected on my life experiences. And sometimes there's these high moments or low moments in our lives that become defining of our character and who we are. Viktor Frankl's work, Man's Search for Meaning, you can find meaning in anything. And so now I'm doing this because I am on a mission to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. There's so many entrepreneurs who are trying to achieve success but are in the struggle. And I think that's a shame because that's hurting our globe. But I experience that myself. So it's very visceral. And every morning I wake up and I'm like, I gotta move this ball forward. I've set a mission for myself that is so big. There's 350 million entrepreneurs in our globe, countless ones here in Australia. This mission is so big for me. I know I'll never achieve it during my lifespan. And that's okay. What I'm going to do is stick with it as far as I can. I think we all need to find that, something that's meaningful. And meaning doesn't mean broad. You don't have to serve 350 million people. It could be the most extraordinary spouse to your spouse. It could be someone who saves one other life. Like whatever is meaningful to you, particularly in service of other people, I think is what the biggest driver is for success.
That's good. I love it. Mike, thank you so much. Now, guys, if you want to check out Mike and all his books, where can they go, Mike?
Yeah, so they can go to Mike Motorbike, as in the motorcycle, MikeMotorbike.com. My last name's too hard to spell. Alternatively, or additionally, do a search for Becoming Self-Made. It's on YouTube. You can watch the videos of me interviewing these amazing entrepreneurs, the Savannah Bananas, who's exploding in the United States. Hopefully we'll get themselves down here to Australia. I interview all of these celebrity entrepreneurs on Becoming Self-Made. It's on YouTube.
I love it. And look, guys, if you are running a business yourself and you want to change your habits, you want to look at becoming self-made, you want to actually become the winner, I do strongly suggest that you read Profit First, have a look at that. Bro. And it's changed my life. And there's so many people that I know have read it. It's really about recognizing what's happening today. And the next step is courage to actually take change. And look, when you get to that point, reach out to myself and
yes,
I can help you do that.
Call Nathan. Stat. You've got this. All
right. Vegemite and toast for you soon. Welcome to Australia.
Thanks,
Good seeing you. Thank you. And thanks, guys. See you later.